Hi, everyone. How are you? Sorry it took me so long. I tried something a little new. I know a little bit of tech stuff, editing, whatever, but normally I get on Zoom because I had a co host and I would, stream live from the Zoom room. But now I'm like, hey, let me try to go live just straight from YouTube. So that's what I'm doing here. Let's start because that was a weird start, right? Yeah. So welcome to the Quest Show. I am your host, Lana Quest. So happy that everyone is here. This feels like a new setup for me. So very strange. But yes, welcome to the Quest Show. I am back. Um, I have a lot of things that I want to talk about. But before I start, I would like to thank our new subscribers because wow, everyone, there's like 13 new subscribers. Hi, Artie. This is so much better because now I can just see you in the chat right here. So why haven't I been doing this? Anyway, so thank you to my new subscribers. I got 13, so that's amazing. If you're out there right now, please like this video, share this video, tell your friends, your family. It's 2024 is coming soon. Come on, stay on top of it. What's happening in the news? I will break it down for you. I will get enraged for you. You got something you're mad about? Drop it in the chat. I'll be mad with you. So let's go. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. I still like to prepare my little phone because it's just a little closer for me and I can see it better and type on it better. So I'm just going to prepare that. Give me 1 second, Artie, and I will be right back. Okay, so how's everyone doing? Is it hot where you're at? Today we had less humidity, so it was actually kind of nice today. Like we broke out of the 90s and the high humidity. So that's good. I hear that some places are steaming. We had an associate at the firm the past couple of days, and she is from Texas, and she was saying how hot it is there, and like actually coming to Massachusetts in the 90-degree heat was just a lot better for her. So go figure. But while we're talking about heat waves and things of that nature, let's talk about climate change because I've been wanting to talk about climate change for a little while and haven't had a chance to. So let's talk about climate change. And before we even talk about climate change, let's just talk about what climate change is because that's confusing to a lot of people because some people think climate change is like the temperature, like how hot it is. And it's actually not the temperature. The temperature is the temperature, and climate change is something a bit different. So, climate change refers to long term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. So, climate change isn't actually the temperature, it's almost like the measurements and the shifts in the data surrounding like the weather patterns. You understand? So it's not the actual temperature, it's kind of like the data surrounding the shifts of what the weather is doing. So that's what climate change is. And right now we are actually in crises mode. And we've been saying it for the longest time that we are hitting crises mode, and it's just getting worse. And part of the reason why it's still getting worse is because, we have half of our government that doesn't even believe it exists. So they don't function to protect the climate and the environment. They function to protect companies, corporations by deregulating. So let's get into why that's important. Like, why we should not be deregulating companies, why we should be regulating what they're doing relative to the climate. So, what's going on right now? And I just read this, so forgive me because my memory is like boom, but I did write it down. So, billions of tons of CO2 is being released in the atmosphere every year from coal, from gas, from oil production, right? The Joe Mansions of the world. Oil, 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 coal, coal, coal. Remember Trump was like promising to open up coal mines, right? This is the thing about the deregulations. It's like more oil, more gas, more coal. And what those things do to the environment, it just releases CO2 into the atmosphere. Remember back in the day, we used to have everything was aerosol, right? Your deodorant, maybe they still have them. I don't know. I don't pay attention because I don't buy aerosol sprays, but those are the things that they kept screaming like decades ago. Don't use aerosol because it's destroying the ozone layer. And the more of the ozone that's being destroyed, the hotter the planet is going to be. Right? And they've been saying this for decades. Now, look what we are experiencing. Who knew? The scientists, they knew because they told us. And if we don't slow down global emissions, like, and it's not even just America, right? So I can't even just blame it all on us because we're all inhabiting this earth. So it's not just America, it is a global crisis. And if we don't slow down the rate of our global emissions, the temperatures are going to continue to rise. So, what happens when the temperature continues to rise? Well, let's see. Uh, Glaciers, ice sheets, they're melting. They're causing the sea levels to rise. That's never good because if the glaciers and our ice caps are melting and that's causing the sea levels to rise, so that, I mean, sea levels rising. So something in the brain should be going, oh, shoot, floods, right? Like that means that there are going to be whole districts that are literally underwater at some point. New York is an island. New York would end up underwater at some point if we continue on the track that we are on right now. Hey, Michelle. And then the other piece, we're just talking about climate change and how we got here. And then the other piece of climate change is that if we continue to use, I mean, and I get it, it's gas, oil, and coal, all of the things that we need, right? All of the things that we are dependent on. Me myself, I can't imagine having an electric car, right? But I know that that is the push. I know that at some point it is something that I'm going to have to get accustomed to because that is how the world that's where we're going with the world, right? We do have to have progression as much as, you don't want to when you get a certain age, you just don't like it. It's like it's for the Gen Zers and the millennials, like they're the ones that like electric car, Tesla, never a Tesla, like Elon, seriously, but I digress. So I can't imagine having to plug in my car. But then again, I have to stop at the gas station. Like, so it's just kind of the same. It's just something different. They really do have to work on if they want more people to drive electric cars, and especially people in urban areas, you know what I mean? Black, brown people, people with of lower income. So it's not just black, brown, but like lower income people. If you want them to drive electric cars, then one, the price has to get lower on the electric cars. Two, you're going to have to put charging stations like in the hoods or in the urban areas where people, it's not an issue trying to get your car charged up. Like, so those are the things that have to change. And I'm sure they're working on it. So I would imagine, and I believe, wasn't it California? Isn't it Newsom that's saying like in 10 years he wants no more gas guzzling cars, he just wants electric cars? Like, I get it, because if you think about how hot it is right now, and the ice caps are melting and the glaciers are melting and the ozone layer is like being depleted. There is no protection from the sun whatsoever, and that's going to cause catastrophes, right? So it's not, we just talked about, is melting the ice caps, so that means that they're going to be higher sea levels. That means there's going to be more flooding. That means that there are going to be districts just underwater at some point. Maybe not in our lifetime, excuse me, because none of this is for our lifetime. This is not going to happen in the next 20, 30, or 40 years. But this is going to happen probably in the next 60, 80, 90 years, right? New York may be underwater. And it's not just like the sea levels. So you're thinking with climate change again and again, remember what climate change is. It's not temperature. It's almost like the data surrounding weather patterns. So when you're talking about climate change, it is not just like, okay, the rising sea levels, right? Now we're talking about the heat. What does the heat do? Because this is the problem. I was just on another podcast and we were talking about the continent of Africa and the issues that they're having and the food insecurity that they're having. And a lot of it is due to climate change as well, because with this heat, what is it doing to the crops? Right. So it's ruining the crops, it's ruining the fruit. So not only we don't even have immigrants because Ron DeSantis is chasing them away, but now the weather is not even, it's not, the ground's not fertile because the weather is either droughts, right? There's either like just drought and no rain, or there's too much rain. So like the crops are going to shit, fruits, vegetables. If you're wondering why your fruits and vegetables are so high, that's why. Stop blaming Biden. Like it's just ridiculous. Oh, inflation, I don't see it going down. The fruits and vegetables are still sky high. It's part of this. It's a part of climate change. The thing that his administration and the Democrats are trying to work on with the rest of the global community to combat climate change, because we already know that it will cause food insecurity. Let's check out these temperatures for the past week. Michelle, Artie, glad you're here. Electric cars have many advantages above and beyond ecological. Put them in the chat, Artie. You have an electric car? Let me know, because, yeah, again, I don't know. And I do have a question about electric cars. If you can answer this, Artie. So if it's running by battery, does the battery go down lesser? Like, do you need to charge it faster if you have more people in the car, or the car is carrying a heavier weight? That is my question about electric cars. So back to the temps. So last week we're talking about Texas. Texas is like 119, 114, 115, 112. And this is straight. This is like with no stopping. Death Valley, Arizona, 134 degrees. 134 degrees. 130 has been the highest. Like that has been the record, right? And they don't get that all the time. But that was the standing record. Now it just hit 134. Yeah, it's breaking heat records. Obviously, there is something seriously wrong. And then with the heat like that, now you're talking about not only is it impacting our crops, food, uh ozone layers, like all of these things that are being impacted. Also, us, the inhabitants of the earth, we are being impacted by these high temperatures and by climate change. Why? The air quality. And you got forest fires everywhere. Canada's burning. It's cloudy here in Massachusetts because of that. It's cloudy in New York because of that. Who knows what type of whatever we're breathing in, right? We're not even thinking about that. We're just breathing in whatever this dusty, whatever particle is. We probably should be running around with masks on again. So the air quality, when it's that hot, people with asthma, How are they breathing? How are and here's the climate injustice part or the environmental injustice part, because if you're living in an environment that doesn't have a lot of trees, that doesn't have a lot of shade, or you're living in like a brick building, the climate has a whole different impact on you, right? Like when during the heat waves, you can't get cool because people in, lower income communities, they don't have those cool little water parks that your kids can run around in. They just don't have it. They don't have the pretty trees, right? If you're living in a project, you don't have that. You just have heat. That is all you have. So that impacts you. Then you're in the hospital, you have breathing problems. I didn't get the data on how many people have succumbed to this heat, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot because I've heard a lot of the third degree burns, like homeless people living outside. What's happening to them? Someone said I think it was in Arizona, the ground was like 100 in the pavement, 168 degrees it was measuring. I don't even know how your shoes don't melt if you're out there 168 degrees. That's insane. Florida waters are 90 degrees. Florida waters, 90 degrees. That means the hurricanes are coming. That is why the insurance companies are getting out of there because it's unstable. So that's my climate change spiel because we don't talk about it enough and it is so important. Oh, you don't have one yet, Artie? Ah, yeah. I don't know about the electric car. Someday. Someday, someday. So that was climate change. What else? You guys want to talk about the target letter? Oh my gosh. What was the temperature? I'm reading the chat, everyone. What was the temperature in Vegas? In Vegas when you went, Shell? Because it had to be in the hundreds. It had to be. Um, so Trump disclosed this week that he received a target letter from Jack Smith. He said on Sunday, who knows when it was, but let's just go with what he said. I don't know why, because he's a liar, but something like this probably would lie about. He's going to embellish down the line about it anyway. So let's say he got it on Sunday. The target letter gave him 4 days to testify in front of the grand jury that is investigating his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Uh, a target letter is just as it sounds, that he is a target of investigation. You just don't throw target letters out just willy nilly. That's not how that works. If you're a target of an investigation, that means that you are a person who prosecutors or the grand jury believe has substantial evidence, or you are being linked to a crime. And Trump is all of the above. Linked to a crime. He's a criminal. He does the criming. He has a substantial evidence. That's just who Trump is. So he did get the target letter. He wanted to get ahead of the game before everyone found out. So, he went on Truth Social to say that he's about to get indicted again, that it is a witch hunt. Witch hunt. Oh my God, it's always a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt. Everyone's out to get him. Joe Biden's Department of Justice is out to get him. Um, that's so ridiculous, right? Like, how is it Joe Biden's Justice Department? Number one, Joe Biden hasn't said not one word about this. Number two, Merrick Garland got rid of this case, which was a very smart thing to do, to get an independent prosecutor, investigator. Like, Jack Smith is independent. We don't know Jack Smith's politics, and we're not supposed to. Jack Smith is independent of the DOJ on purpose. So they keep saying that it's Joe Biden, Kevin McCarthy. He popped up and he says that what did he say? Oh, Trump is rising in the polls, so Biden that basically has his henchmen to get Trump indicted again. Tim Scott said something like, what did he say? Oh, Democrats are hunting Republicans. He said Democrats are hunting Republicans. Like, excuse me? That doesn't, again, it on its face, it just doesn't really make any sense. I mean, he did the crime. And and this is what we keep forgetting too. And I also keep forgetting uh, what Democrats testified against Donald Trump in any of this criming. It was all Republicans. The J6 hearings, who testified? All Republicans. Trump's staff, people in Trump's administration, Trump's attorneys, Trump's cohorts, Trump's minions. Those are the people who have testified before the grand jury. They're not Democrats. So how is the fix in? The fix is in. The fix is in. The Democrats are how? When it's all these are all Trump's men. It's all Trump's men. Couldn't put Humpty back together again. Like all of them. Trump's people. But it's Democrats. You know what? Just stop the crime. Well, he's not criming right now, is he? Can't do that. So that means that pretty soon, so if it happened on Sunday and they said that he had 4 days to speak and talk to the grand jury, which of course he's not, and he actually should not. Hi, Brian. Amazes me you have a large field of people with supposed aspirations to be POTUS, but they refuse to take advantage of his troubles, with the exception of Christie. Yeah, that is interesting. They have aspirations, or are they all auditioning for vice president? Like, that's always like my thought. I'm like, I don't know if these people really have aspirations. Like, I don't know. Tim Scott, he's not double digits. Was he 2 or 3 percentage points? Chris Christie, we know why he's there, but I don't think I think they all want to be vice president, like except for Ron DeSantis, and we already know like he doesn't have a shot. Um, it is a little frustrating to see no labels running around here, so everyone needs to pay attention to them and Joe Manchin. They asked Joe Manchin, if you don't know what no labels is, it's supposed to be some type of third party made up of Republicans and a Democrat that's actually a Republican, Joe Manchin. They asked him if he was going to run for president. He's like, we'll see. No labels, that party, if you want to call them a party, nobody knows where they're getting their money from because they won't disclose it. But we know where they're getting their money from. Same place that what's the guy, RFK or whatever, the Kennedy guy, is getting his money from the Republicans because he's just there for a spoiler. Like, that's all it is. Like, they just want to hurt Biden's chances. So we really, really need to be on point. We really, really have to pay attention to this because they're really hitting us at every single angle. Like the Cornell West, please drop out. Like, it just, why? Like, why do you want to be that guy when you absolutely know that for us right now, it is a life? And I know I've gone off the topic of this target letter, but let's go here for a minute. I know every year we say, not every election, we say this is the most important election. But every year, the situation becomes more dire. So that's why, not every year, but every election, it has gotten more dire, right? Now, before, Republicans used to hide their plans. Now we don't have an excuse because they're telling us their plan. Trump has told us what his plan is. It's retribution. He's out for revenge. If a Republican takes office, it's going to be revenge, right? He's not going to have, don't get me wrong, I don't support any of these people, but he's not going to have the Bill Barr. He's not going to have, I forget the other people around him that they went with the nonsense, but they did have a limit and knew when to push back a little bit. But those people, he's not going to have them. He's going to have like my pillow guy will be like the Secretary of Defense. He's just going to have the crazy attorney. He's going to have her maybe as his attorney general, right? Like he's going to really get the bottom. He's going to dig deep in the bottom of the barrel to get the dirt and put them in his administration. It's not a coincidence that they are trying to um, take the diversity out of the military. Why? Because they want to fill in military with white nationalists. Well, of course, because he wants a military state. Military state, you need a bunch of racists and bigots to do your bidding. That's exactly what he wants. Federal workers, he's going to come for you. If you look like you are woke, brown, black, Asian, Native American, you're going to get fired. If you don't look woke, meaning you're non-person of color, they may look at your Facebook or your Twitter or whatever and see what you got going on. If you're woke, you're getting fired too. Member of the LGBTQ plus community, you're getting fired too. Like that is where they're going. The Supreme Court is making decisions saying, hey, no, if your religious belief is that you don't agree with two men getting married or two women getting married, you don't have to serve them. That's where we're at now. So that's going to be expanded, right? It's going to be times 10. So they're already laying the groundwork for a Republican presidency or Trumpism, because that's what it is. It doesn't matter. They're not a Republican Party. They are a cult, and it's a cult of Trumpism. And that's what's going to happen down every last one of them, except for, as Brian and I talked about on, when was the show? Monday, Chris Christie may not be as bad as the rest of them, but it's going to be pretty bad if we don't pay attention. It's really going to be bad. So that's the target letter. What happened? What next? We talked about McCarthy. Oh, the Michigan Attorney General has pressed charges against the fake Trump electors over the alleged 2020 election crimes. Like, see how this stuff is coming like full circle? Full circle. This is a serious, huge investigation. Federal, state, it is just, it's everywhere, because this wasn't the only state that these fake electors were in. This is just the first state to press charges. How many were there? I think there were 8 fake electors charged with fraudulent effort to reverse Joe Biden's victory. Like these, I mean, we already know that Trump attorneys have to get attorneys. People in Biden's administration and people in Trump's administration end up having to get attorneys. But now, but then again, we already knew, because J6, his supporters end up having to get attorneys. Like at some point, you know what? Your brain, rational people, rational thoughts always kind of get in your brain, right? That's how you know you're rational, because we talk about Trump supporters, we talk about Trump, we talk about the cult, the party of cult, the insurrection committee. And as we're talking about it, we will stop to say, oh my God, how is this happening? I can't believe, because that's the rational part of our brains. but they don't, there's nothing there for them. There's nothing, everything is irrational. Everything is a fight. And now Trump has gotten even smarter because now he's like, they're coming after us. So now he's going to make you think that the money that you're donating is actually being donated to yourself. Because it's going, hey, they're coming after us. We have to get an attorney. Send me your dollars because we have to fight this stuff. See how, I mean, we call Trump dumb. He's like a bumbling idiot, but these people are just worse than he is. And they will just open their pocketbooks over and over. But again, Michigan is, 16. Yeah, 16 people. I thought it was 8. 16 people face 8 charges, including conspiracy. And election law forgery. So it's 16 people that got arrested in Michigan. Oh my goodness. So that is the first state. I believe that they were in other states too: Arizona, Georgia, New Mexico, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. I believe that those states are a little hesitant to go after them. They absolutely should teach them all a lesson. Don't do this again. You follow this fool, this is what happens. But we'll see how that works out. I'm just going to read. Book deals and TV jobs. No labels as Joe Lieberman crowd. Oh, Joe Lieberman. I reject the term Trumpism. Fascism predated him. Okay, Artie, that is fair. He is a fascist. I mean, they're all of that. There's not one label. We will be rejecting and whatever all day long. Like, he's a demagogue, he's a fascist, he's an authoritarian, he's a racist, he's a bigot, he's a cult leader. Like, all of those things can be true, and all of those things encompass Trumpism. You can't be a part of Trumpism if you're not a fascist. You cannot be a part of Trumpism if you're not a white nationalist. You can't be a part of Trumpism if you're not a racist or white supremacist. So it's all related. We don't have to separate them out like that. We don't. We know what it means. If you say Trumpism, we know what the hell Trumpism means. Of course it means fascism. If you say Ron DeSantis, what's the first thing that comes to your head? Fascist. Little Trump, like mini Trump. Same thing. We don't have to separate. They're all the same. We get it. We get it. They're dictators. Ah, let's see what else. Oh, speaking of Ron DeSantis, how much time do we have? Oh my goodness. The Florida educational system. I really, really feel awful about or for the Black people in Florida. Like, I just really feel bad. Ron DeSantis is attacking these people like it was in KKK era. Like, seriously, he's using his governorship like burning crosses in yards. Like, that's exactly what he's doing. It's really disgusting what he's doing. And his continued efforts to erase Black history, whitewash Black history, whatever you want to call it. The Florida Department of Education has decided that the teachers in Florida have, when they're teaching about uh, chattel slavery, they have to teach that the enslaved uh, people had developed skills that could be applied. I can't even say this, for their personal benefit. So, feel bad for enslaved people. What's wrong with you? Why are you feeling bad? They acquired skills that they can use for their personal benefits, says Ron DeSantis. So let's see, the skills that they acquired that could be used for their personal benefit, like what? The women, men, and children being raped? Is that like, how they dealt with that? Was that a skill? Is a skill sleeping with shackles? Is that one of the skills that they acquired for their personal benefit? How about picking cotton? Is that a skill that they acquired for their personal benefit? You know, I don't know. Looking good on that block before they got sold? Is that a skill that they acquired for their personal benefit, Ron DeSantis? I mean, is that what he's really saying? Because let me just say something. The Africans that were kidnapped already had fucking skills. They had skills. They were building. They were creating. They knew how to cook. They knew what plants were poisonous and what wasn't poisonous. They were making medicines for themselves. What skills that they had skills when they were kidnapped. So what they're doing now is trying to one minimize enslavement and make it seem like, these people came on a cruise ship, right? Got they got they had a place to sleep on the ship, nice ship. None of them died. What slaves died during the Middle Passage? What are you talking about? Middle Passage? What's that? They're on a cruise ship. This is luxury. Yeah. And they got to the Americas and, they didn't get sold. No. They got to pick where they wanted to go, what big house they wanted to live in. And then they got room and board. And then they got paid for it. And then they acquired the skills. That's what he wants you to think happened. That slavery was a benefit, right? Because if they acquire skills that they can use post enslavement, hey, then slavery was a good deal for everybody, right? What the hell? Like, that is so disgusting and despicable and disrespectful and anti-Black. And it's just unbelievable that any person of color would fix their pie face to support this man, Brian Donaldson. Like, just ignore all of that because ultimately it's the power and the money and the prestige that these people seek, and they just never ever care. And there are two choices, only two choices, not no labels, not Cornell West, not any other supposed party. There are two choices. There is this cult that has the fascists that are telling us exactly what they're gonna do. They're telling you what slavery? Like, they're rewriting everything. And not only are they doing that piece that the teachers have to teach, but if teachers teach about civil unrest or massacres committed by white lynchings, they also have to teach where Black people killed white people. Like, are we serious right now? So now, if Black people are protecting themselves from being lynched, being murdered after voting, or something of that nature, or fight back to try to free themselves or rebel from being enslaved, we're gonna make that seem like, yes, the violent Blacks. Like, this is just it's way too much. I mean, Florida is what happening in Florida, but it will catch on. Donald Trump posted something like "Sue the Blue." That means that if he becomes president, and it's not just him, because remember, they all represent him. That it's all the same thinking. So whether it is Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, I forgot about her, they're going to do the same thing. Trump is just going to be worse because he's got vengeance on his mind. He is going to try to arrest Democrats. He is going to try to sue Democrats. He is going to sue states. He is going to try. That's why we always say just because you're in a blue state does not mean you are protected. Because if we get a Republican president and if these clowns just happen to get Congress, how are we protected? It's going to be hella tough. Gotta pay attention. I don't even know what I was talking about. Ron DeSantis changing the history. Gotta get on that. What else happened? Oh, so last thing, and I didn't watch this testimony, but the if you haven't heard, a few, I don't know how many Texas women, but a bunch of Texas women sued the state of Texas um, regarding their abortion ban because Texas has one of the strictest abortion bans. These women suffered horribly from this ban. I mean, you're talking about, again, women being sent home to um, miscarry babies, women being sent home to bleed more, come back when you're almost dying, and then maybe we'll have a meeting about it and see if we can give you the medical care that you need. Or, women, carrying a fetus with a anomaly, and it's not going to be viable, but it has a heartbeat, so they can't have the medical procedure. And these women suffered. You have women who are now sterilized, who can, and these are women that wanted children. And that's the kicker, right? These are the women that actually wanted to have babies, now sterilized, now having trouble having babies. One woman testified and was speaking about it, and I caught this in the news because I didn't see the hearings. She threw up on stand because it's devastating. It is traumatic. Like, it's like, no one wants this. One woman was saying, and I didn't even think about this with the heartbeat bills. So, she had a non-viable fetus. However, because it had a heartbeat, there was nothing that they could do. There's a faint heartbeat. So she would go into the doctor to get checked out. I don't know how often because, again, I didn't watch the hearings. They were looked super emotional. Um, and she said she was torn. And she was torn because she would go in and on one hand, she was excited and wanted to hear her baby's heartbeat or her fetus's heartbeat. Excited. But then the flip side, she's also thinking like, God, I don't want to hear the heartbeat because I just want this over with. So that's how she's torn. Her and her husband. Imagine thinking, I don't want to hear the heartbeat because I'm literally carrying something that's going to die once I give birth to it. So I just want to not give birth. I want the medical care that I need, but I can't even get that because there's still a heartbeat. Like, this is insane. Fetus is missing skulls, but there's a heartbeat, so you're going to have to give birth, and then you're going to have to take care of the medical bills yourself. Then if you want a funeral or bury it, then you have to take care of that too. Well, and all of this could have been prevented because we knew ahead of time. So this is just really bad. There's a lot at stake going on. I don't know. Well, I guess there's kind of good news. I mean, Biden got a great ad. Um, he got a great ad for his campaign this week when Marjorie Taylor Greene thought that I think her staff doesn't like her because she was reading. Did I write that down? That was hilarious. I probably did not write it down. I should have written it down. Her speech. Well, anyway, in her speech in front of whoever she was talking to, who even knows, but she was, saying that Biden was basically trying to build back better and trying to lower the cost of prescriptions and, basically take care of people, right? And she's reading it. And it's so funny because she's reading it like she herself was waiting for the gotcha on Biden, but she just kept reading. I'm like, oh my God, her staff must have played a joke on her because she's like literally celebrating Biden's accomplishments. So, what did the Biden administration do? They used it in a campaign ad and said, we approve. Oh my God, you cannot make any of this stuff up. Uh, what are you guys saying? Next week I am going to have quotes, and questions. Please come back. I swear I'm going to do my homework. Normally, no one's in the chat and it's just me. So I probably should have the quotes, and questions just in case someone's in the chat and then we could just play the game. So I will get better at that. Hey, DA, what's going on? DeSantis is the 2023 version of George Wallace. Yes, he is. He's like George Wallace, David Duke, and all them Strom Thurmond put together. It's like all of them. The term Trumpism elevates his status. In my opinion, fascism is the accurate term. I don't know. They like it too. They love fascism too. I don't know. But already, to each his own. It's cool. Right. Like slavery was a trade school. Yeah. That's what they're acting like. Slavery was a trade school. You should be happy that you were kidnapped. You learned a whole trade. You got carpenters. You learned. What else did they learn? I don't know. The horse thing. What is that called? You put the horseshoe on the horse. I don't know. You learned all that stuff. You learned how to cook. Hey, listen. You learn how to breastfeed your master's wife's baby. Hey, what's wrong with that? Oh my God. Let's see. I'm too outspoken tonight. No, you're not, Artie. You're fine. This means you're on top of your stuff. Yes, Artie, you are. Speak up. We may not all agree on words. We may not all agree on terms. We may not all agree on how we do what we do. Some people are Twitter warriors, social media warriors. You know what? That's fine because there's a place for that. Like there's a place for all of this. The movement is large and we have to hit it from every single angle. We don't have all the answers. We need each other. The Black community, we don't have all the answers. We need our white sisters and brothers to help us to speak out when you see something, when you see racism, when you see fascism, bigotry, especially white men. We definitely need y'all to step up and start talking because we've lost a lot of you to fascism, Trumpism, so we really need you in our corner too. So speak up all you want. We're here. We're trying to get the same thing. It's scary out here, man. It really is. We can joke about it. We're like, yeah, the Civil War. But them people are crazy. They really, really, really want a civil war. They really do. So yeah, we need to stop this guy. Anyway, everyone, thank you for coming. Next week, I will definitely have some quotes. Promise. And thank you for coming. And we will chat soon. Hopefully, we have some indictments next week. Hopefully. Oh, and before I go, hey everyone, please stop by YouTube channel Run's House. Is that what it's called? Me and Brian, he was in the chat. We have a new podcast on that channel, on the Run's House podcast channel. It's called Black and White. It's out on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. So if you guys are not doing anything on Tuesdays at 8 p.m., we'd love to have you in our chat over there as well. But you better be here on Thursdays too. So if you go on Tuesdays, we're a twofer. You can't just do one and be like, I already did it. We already two first. So you gotta do both. So thank you guys. Thank you, Artie, Brian. Okay, Run's House Podcast. There you go. Go over to YouTube, Run's House Podcast. We already have done one. There's one up. Brian cut out some little snippets of the show. So if you don't have time to watch the complete show, he's got some snippets for you. So go hang out over there. Come back over here. I'm going to have some Black history on the Black Corner real soon, too. So keep checking in, and I will see you guys for sure next Thursday. Be safe out there. Be cool. Love you guys. Bye-bye.